this computer. Let's hope.
Enjoy.
Enjoy, exactly.
Namaste.
Okay, and we will also do some nice screen sharing. Okay, so the topic today of our speech is Hinduism, Vedic Culture, Tantra, and Sanatana Dharma. Now, these are four almost the same things. They're very similar concepts. They're almost the same, but not exactly the same. Now, to understand these four concepts, we have to start from the meaning of religion. The word religion is usually translated, dharma is usually translated as religion, but that's not exact. That's not fully correct. Now, the word dharma also includes the meaning of religion, but it is a religion based on the universal ethical principles, eternal universal ethical principles that in Sanskrit are called Sanatana Dharma. The word Sanatana means eternal. It has no beginning and no end. So when we speak of Sanatana Dharma, it is something that is always existing and will always exist because it is the nature of the individual soul. It's the nature of the Atman. Now, we have, especially in the West, there has been a discussion about the natural religion, starting from a Scottish philosopher whose name was David Hume, that in 1779 wrote a book about the natural religion. It was the dialogue, discussion. Oh, there voila. Namaste. Okay, then we start again. Exactly. Now it's 6. So we can also keep the questions if you want. If you want to ask questions, we have the chat. I keep the chat open. Okay, so Hinduism, Vedic culture, Tantra, and Sanatana Dharma. As I was saying just now, many people consider these terms to be the same. Jai, namaste. I can see you now. Namaste. Many people consider these words as synonyms, but the meanings are not exactly the same. They overlap a lot, but they're not exactly the same. Now, I was mentioning David Hume, who in 1779 published his book, The Dialogue over Natural Religion. And this started the first discussion that actually questioned the idea of religion imposed by Abrahamic cultures. Because there was the first doubt that the model of Abrahamic religion was not the only possible model. That there was a natural religion that we can call Sanatana Dharma because we know better. Hume was just starting, thinking, doubting, maybe there could be something else. We know there is something else. So this natural religion is called Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana means eternal. It also means universal, because something that is eternal must be valid for everyone, because we keep changing. So in one life, we are born as Hindus, and another life, we are born as Christian. Who knows where we be born again? So Sanatana Dharma means anywhere, anyone, anytime. Sanatana means eternal, and Dharma is usually translated as religion. But again, we are facing the problem that the general concept of religion at global level has been produced, generated by the Abrahamic bias. So even atheists still think in the Abrahamic pattern. So that is why when I write and my books, my articles and everything, I am talking about Abrahamic and post-Abrahamic. Because even if some ideology like atheism, communism, scientism, or whatever, presents itself as non-Abrahamic, if they keep the same pattern of mentality, well, they're post-Abrahamic, but it's the same. Now, the 5 major religions in the world, I have something to, share, screen sharing. Let me see where we have, I got some nice pictures. There are, if you go and see on internet, Googling about the various religions in the world. Okay, here it is. We have a presentation of the 5 major religions that are Christianity, which is 31.5% of the entire world population. Then we have Islam. Here it is. Let's make it bigger. It's funny, but oops, no. Okay.
Devi cliccare dove c'è la lente di ingrandimento in alto.
No, okay. No, it was a problem of the screen sharing. I cannot. It's occupying most of the space of the bar. So okay. So we see that the various, we have Christianity in the blue. Then we have Islam in the green. Then we have Hinduism, of course, in the orange. And we have the Jews in red. And the Buddhism, we have the other, this is China. It means no religion. Thank you very much. Non-affiliated. So we can see that Hinduism is only in India. But we know, if you have seen my book, Why I Became a Hindu, that there are actually millions of Hindus who actually are not considered Hindus because they're not of Indian origin. So Hinduism could, comfortably be, I think, bigger than Islam. But okay, we'll see what. Now I find some other pictures that are more clear. Anyway, so Islam is 23.2%. Hinduism is presented as being 15%, of which 94% are in India. Now, of course, there are big communities outside India, in the United States, United Kingdom, some in Australia, some in Canada, some in Mauritius. Mauritius, there is a lot of, big Hindu community. Indonesia, Bali, especially, they're famous. But in general, most of these communities are considered less, less representative. Now, even in India, the Hindus are only 80%. Because, here it is. It's not so clear, but it's okay. We can manage. Even in India, the percentage of Hindus is only 80%. And it's not growing as it is supposed to. Okay. I am still playing with the technical things because I'm still learning. Let me see. Okay, that is supposed to be right. So when we speak about Hinduism, what does that mean then? It means that Hinduism is perceived solely as a birth or race issue. This was not the case in Vedic culture. In Vedic culture, there was zero consideration about race. There was a deep respect for the tradition of the family. But there were lots of examples of people coming from other cultures who adopted the Vedic culture by migrating into India, for example. Like the Huns, the Kasha, they were also called Saka. They started to migrate into India 1 or 2 centuries before the present era. And they became Hindus. And later on, they became the Gujar and the Vanga. So the same group of populations occupied the extreme west and the extreme east. In the west, in Rajasthan and Gujarat, and Maharashtra, but especially Gujarat and Rajasthan, and on the other side in Bengal. Still, Bengal was less populated. Now, we see another graph of the major religions. So we have Sikhism is so small because in fact it's a branch of Hinduism. And here we come to the main division. Now, the categorization of religions should be whether they are dharmic or adharmic religions. Now, the division is usually made whether they are revealed or natural, like Hume was arguing, or historical, revealed. When they speak of revealed religions, the academic version means a religion that started at a particular time in history with a founder to whom the religion was revealed. Now, Sanatana Dharma doesn't work like that, because in Sanatana Dharma, this knowledge of religion, like any other knowledge, but especially the knowledge of religion, is naturally encoded in the nature of the Atman. The Atman is Sat Chit Ananda, eternal, made of awareness or knowledge and happiness. So Sanatana Dharma doesn't need to be taught, doesn't need to be learned. It's something that each human being already knows that is right. Here we come to the universal value of the concepts of right and wrong, good and evil. Now, we speak about the conscience. At the natural level, how do we know what is right and what is wrong? What is good and what is evil? By the voice of the conscience. Our conscience is telling us what is good and what is evil. Who is the conscience? The conscience is the Atman. And at the deep level, inside the Atman, we find the Paramatman. The Paramatman is the supreme Atman, which is God. The Paramatman, sometimes it's the word Paramatman, sometimes it's translated as super soul. It's a little funny because when you speak of super soul, you imagine something like Superman. Yeah, it's a bigger soul. No. The Paramatman is the soul of the soul. Just like the Param Guru is the guru of the guru. It's the same idea. So the Paramatman is the soul of the soul. If you go deep enough inside the Atman, inside your soul, you'll find the Paramatman. This is what the Upanishads are teaching. That the Brahman, Paramatman, is living inside the cave of the heart. Of course, there is no cave in the heart. It's not that we can open up, we go to the post-mortem, the autopsy, we are looking for the cave. Where is the cave? It doesn't work like that. But the Paramatman, the God in the form of the soul, resides inside every being, every Atman. And specifically, the human being has the capacity to relate directly, to access directly this knowledge from the Paramatma. Now, the idea of good and evil, the idea of right and wrong is natural. This is why this is a natural religion. This is Sanatana Dharma. Now, what is Dharma? We have a lot of definitions of Dharma. I think the easiest and most beautiful we find in the Bhagavata Purana, in the story, when Maharaj Parikshit meets the Kali Purusha. So this Kali Purusha is the personification of the age of Kali. And he finds this Shudra dressed as a king who is cutting the legs of the Dharma in the form of a bull. And these are the 4 legs of Dharma listed in the Bhagavata Purana. Satyam, Daya, Socha, and Tapas. Which is, the first one is truthfulness, honesty, sincerity. The second is compassion, kindness, benevolence to all the living beings. The third is cleanliness or purity or simplicity. We have all the connected ideas in the yama and niyama of yoga. So whatever brings purity, cleanliness, purifies the mind, the identification, the mind, the body. This is dharma. And the last one is tapas. Tapas sometimes is bad. Usually, it's badly translated as penance, which in Abrahamic terms is a terrible idea because it's very masochistic. And it's offensive because we see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that the austerities that create suffering for the body are actually asuric. Asuras do that. So tapas is not that kind of thing. Tapas means self-control, means effort, means focusing, dedication. Tapas means I'll do it no matter what. I want to do this, I will do it. Of course, it can be misused. Tapas can be misused. But in itself, it's not the idea of mortifying the body, punishing the body, because that is not, sometimes people confuse that. So we have this difference between, this is Sanatana Dharma. Okay, Hinduism is what is left today after so much superimposition, cultural superimpositions of the ancient Vedic culture. Now, Hindus will agree that the basis of their knowledge is Vedic knowledge. The basis of the Hindu religion is Vedic knowledge, Vedic tradition. Now, the problem is that this Vedic tradition, Vedic knowledge, is not exactly followed anymore. So, Hinduism is difficult to define. For many people, it boils down to, I was born there. So my family was Hindu, I'm Indian, so I must be Hindu. Which is not exactly, it's very vague. Because if we go and see the various definitions of Hinduism, they don't agree. Some people say that you have to believe in this and that. Some people say that you have to come from the family, this and that. Some people say even the animals are Hindu. Everybody is Hindu. Okay, maybe not. I don't know. So it's confusing, can be confusing. Now, what is the Vedic culture? This is another huge subject. Now, Vedic culture, the word Vedic comes from Veda. Veda means knowledge. We said that Veda is Sanatana. The knowledge, Sanatana Dharma, is eternal, but the Vedic knowledge is the scientific knowledge of Sanatana Dharma. We can find Sanatana Dharma in so many other religions and traditions, the native ancient religions that are practically all Sanatana Dharma. But the difference between the other ancient religions and the Vedic religion is that Vedic religion is very scientific. So this is why Vedic tradition is also called Varnashram Dharma. Varna and ashram are the two large concepts that regulate the life and progress of the individual and the community. There are very clear, specific rules. It's a scientific process. If it's not followed, it doesn't work. So, when the Vedic tradition, the Vedic culture becomes lost, forgotten, distorted, contaminated by other influences, other ideas, becomes confused. And that is what we call usually Hinduism. Now, why we want to be Hindus then? Because only through Hinduism we can re-establish the Vedic culture. We cannot start from anywhere else. Because in Hinduism, we still find largely the foundations that still remain of the Vedic culture. And we need to regrow the plant. Now, compared to Hinduism, Vedic culture, and Sanatana Dharma, the fourth factor of the title of the speech, of the meeting, is Tantra. Tantra is sometimes, often, mistakenly divided, opposed to Vedic. They say, oh, no, this Tantric is not Vedic. Unfortunately, this problem comes from the infamous Aryan invasion theory. That was introduced to India during the colonial period, the British period. And it's the same idea that created German Nazism. In fact, still today, if you go and see in many Western countries how they see Hinduism, they see it very similar to Nazism. Because the Nazis speak of being Aryans. So the idea that the Aryans, the Vedas were brought by the Aryans, so the neo-Nazi identify with the Vedas. And that's even, another layer of confusion, because they took the swastika. The Nazi party took the swastika and used it. Okay, some Hindus say, yeah, but they changed it a little bit. So that it's not exactly the swastika, because it's a little inclined, but to the general people, it's a swastika bus, that's it. And in fact, they call it swastika. They also call the what was the name, the German, I don't remember, the hooked cross. There is a German name that means the hooked cross. But they also call it swastika. So, originally as a Vedic symbol, swasti means something very good. Means blessing, auspiciousness, good. Swasti, Swasti, whenever you want to bless someone, to bring some good fortune, some good things, there's swasti. So the Hindus, paint the swastika here and there. The Jains do as well, who are the least violent people on the planet. The Jains are just like, okay, crazy on the other side, but it's okay. Buddhists also use swastika. Buddha is, famous for non-violence, Maitri, for the benevolence towards all beings. But still, people identify the swastika. And unfortunately, some of these people also, neo-Nazi or far right, whatever groups, they think that Hinduism, is their thing. We have a lot of studies, famous Savitri Devi, who was a Hitler supporter, big Hitler, She was writing and saying Hitler was an avatar of Vishnu. Okay. So it's like, but still today, there are people I've seen in discussion groups when I still was on Facebook, and they would say, oh, Arjuna is a great hero. He goes to war because he has to conquer. He has, the rage of the youth and the powerful. Oops. Not really. So, we still have to deal with these things. So Veda and Tantra are actually the same. Simply, there is a difference between the official public worship that is characteristically Vedic in the Smriti tradition, and then there is the personal meditation, the personal worship, that is Tantra. Now, Tantra is coming from the Atharva Veda. Already in Atharva Veda, we find a lot of tantric concepts. And we see this is the kind of mentality, the kind of approach. It's not that Atharva Veda was written later or was influenced by the Dravidian religions. All the Vedas were written at the same time. This is what the Vedic tradition says. All the Vedic scriptures were written at the same time. Now, the official Vedic tradition is mostly about the public, as I said, the public religion, like the household duties at individual level and at collective level. So who was engaging in the Vedic rituals mostly were the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas had to do all the religious duties. The higher you go in the Varnas, the more duties you have. So the Brahmanas, if you calculate the requirements, a Grihastha Brahmana had to do an average of 6 to 10 hours a day of rituals. Not less. Not less. A Kshatriya was required to do less. But from now and then, he was engaging Brahmanas to make big yajnas, big rituals, to which the whole society could participate, everybody could come, including the Shudras. They were even accepting the dogs, because it is said very clearly in the instructions, the practical instructions, that a yajna ritual is not complete without the distribution of food. We find in Bhagavad Gita especially, the religious ceremonies that are not completed by the distribution of food, they're not valid. And the food was distributed to everyone, including the dogs. So that means that dogs were around as well. Okay, so we see that the tantric tradition are based on specific scriptures that are called Tantra or Agama. Good, excellent. Okay, they're called Tantra or Agama, and there are 5 categories of Agamas. The 3 main categories are the Vaishnava, for Vishnu, for Shiva, and for Shakti. And less known are for Surya and Ganesh. These are the Pancha Upasana that Adi Shankar carried on, proposed. Now, Adi Shankar was a huge reformer. He did incredible things. He actually revived the Vedic tradition, but in a new package. Completely new. Probably we can say that Hinduism was born with Adi Shankar. Before Adi Shankar, the sannyasis could not teach. Before Adi Shankar, a sannyasi was supposed to just sit somewhere and die. Could not have a residence, could not have any property, could not have disciples, The disciples were a characteristic of the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas were supposed to teach. when we see in the Shastra that it says that every human being has 7 mothers, one of these mothers is the wife of the guru. How can a sannyasi have a wife? Nope, it's not happening. So this means that the guru was necessarily a Brahmana. So that's why Adi Shankara and the Smarta Brahmanas were not exactly on the same page. They had some problems. They had some disagreements. So, but at some point the Hinduism was developed, and Hinduism definitely includes the Tantra, also not only the Vedas, the Smarta part of it, but also the Agama parts of it. Now, even in regular mainstream Hinduism, all the rituals in temple are based on Tantra, because they include the Bija mantra, the Mula mantra. Without the Bija mantra and Mula mantra, no temple is functioning. No deity worship is functioning. So the difference between the Vedic religion and Hinduism is basically that the Vedic religion was the meditation on the devas based on the rituals and specifically on the 4 Veda Samhitas and the Upanishads. Brahmana, Aranyaka, and Upanishad. Now, the Puranas and Itihasas and the Bhakti movement are connected to the Tantra. They develop from there. Without the Tantra, we couldn't have Upasana, we couldn't have Puja, we couldn't have Bhakti even. But there is no contradiction between the two, because the Vedic system also includes Brahman. So, in the Vedic system, and then we find the Yoga Darshana. Now, the point is, the Vedic sacrifices, the rituals, are for the Varnas, specifically the Brahmachari, the Grihastha, and the Vanaprastha gradually gives them up. In the first stage of Brahmacharya, the students learn how to do the rituals, how to apply the Vedic religion. When the student graduates and goes back home, he marries and becomes a Grihastha, a family person. And then he has the duty to perform these rituals. And there are the Pancha Mahayagya, also explained by Adi Shankar. Pancha Mahayagyas are the Deva Yagya, Rishi Yagya, Pitri Yagya, Nara Yagya, and Bhuta Yagya. Now, the Nara Yagya include one's professional job. One's professional activities are considered a ritual, a religious ritual. This is why I believe that Vedic science is the only knowledge, the only system that can actually solve the problems we are facing today at global level. Because people don't know how to work. They don't know how to manage society. They don't know how to classify the occupational duties. They have no idea what the duties are. They have no idea what the training is supposed to be, what the requirements are supposed to be. So we get a mess. Now, and we are trying to do something to help people to understand it, overcome the problem. So Hinduism has still the concept that they are following the Vedic system. They believe in the Vedas. Nobody reads them. Not even the Bhagavad Gita. If you go and ask in general, Hindus, how many have actually read the Gita. But this is normal because all the major religions do that. We see how many people are actually read the Bible, how many Christians have read the Bible, how many Muslims have read the Quran or the Hadith. Now, in this way, the simplest religions are actually easiest to follow. Now, many native religions, they're the real natural religions in the sense they worship nature. So that's very easy, because if you worship nature in a natural way, you don't have to study. You just have to respect what you see, respect what you feel. If you're not contaminated by indoctrination, the wrong indoctrination, you will naturally follow the natural religion. Now, the point is, the Vedic religion is much more scientific than that. So when persons who have less knowledge and less understanding try to apply the Vedic religion without actually following the requirements, it's like children who play with nuclear weapons. Now, children can go and play with sticks and stones outside. It's not dangerous, because what they can do? Maybe they poke each other with a stick in the eye, but not worse than that. But if someone is trying to tamper with a very complex, very specific, very high knowledge, they get bigger trouble. This is why many people who teach yoga, sometimes they make a mess with people. Like, for example, if pranayama is applied in a bad way, you can die. Your blood pressure will go through the roof. You can get so many. Your mind can go crazy. Asanas usually are not. They're not so bad. The more complicated asanas can leave you a little bit. You can pull some muscles, but pranayama is extremely dangerous. Now, what to speak of the yagyas? As we were saying on Quora, the devas are not going to get offended if we have some little mispronunciation. But why should we? Why should we? What's the point? Why do we need to make a big, complicated ritual? Why do we need to go and use the mantras or use the deities? That's stupid. That's going to play with the electrical wires for what? In fact, Bhagavad Gita says that the asuras perform ceremonies and rituals in an egotistical way, out of ahankara and mamatva. But that's what the asuras do. If they get, if the light bulb is blowing in their face, it's good for learning. So we have Vedic, we need to go from the ABC. So first we go from Sanatana Dharma, then we go through Tantra because Bhakti is always very safe. We dedicate ourselves to the service and meditation of our Ishtadeva, in a form of God that we want to connect to. And then, after we have realized, through yoga, Tantra, because Tantra is yoga. It's not a separate discipline, it's not a separate concept. Then we can understand what Veda is. Now, Vedic scriptures, are, as we were mentioning, we start from the Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, Upanishads, Vedanga, Upaveda. There's a lot of stuff. For people who have problems reading Gita, better not to try to go for complicated things. Now, my work as Jagannath Vallabha Vedic Research is to help people approach this knowledge in a structured manner, and especially in a responsible manner, serious, sincere manner, not on the academic level only, because the academic level just brings the ahankar and mamatva bigger, which is exactly the opposite of what we're supposed to do. People become more egotistical, more selfish, more, conditioned, more confused. So this is, okay, this is the presentation. Now it's 45 minutes of presentation. Another point that I wanted to make is that we can see the difference between these various perceptions of religion through the perception of women. Now, let's see the first one that, yeah, okay. Let's go here and let's do some screen sharing and share the screen and here. Okay, this is Ardhanarishwara, Shiva Shakti. This is Brahman, manifested. When the Brahman manifests, it becomes Shiva through Shakti. So we can see what happens, okay, when the Patriarchal Revolution came. Now, the Patriarchal Revolution started historically around the beginning of Kali Yuga. So with the beginning of Kali Yuga, we were mentioning the Kurgans, the Caucasian patriarchal wave that was supported by the Parsism also, as well, Zoroaster. So what happened, we find, for example, in Greece, let me see if I can do some easy sharing without too much complication. We find, for example, you heard about Perseus. And here it is. Here we have our interesting friend. So even before that, We had in the Sumerian, Mesopotamian idea, we have Tiamat, who is killed. So we have, this is the first act of violence against the mother, because Tiamat is the mother. Now, Shersky, Nazi, Padua, here it is. Oops, 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 oops. Ha ha ha. No, we go back. We go back. Yeah, here it is. 1 minute, because, oops. Well, and then in India, it becomes, yeah, here is the mother in the beginning. The mother goddess. No problem. We have, this is another Greek idea of Persephone or Proserpina, who is kidnapped by Hades. So that's not exactly very mother-like. Let's see if we can get, haha, let's see. Ah, yes, I got it. Okay, this nice guy killed Medusa, because Medusa was not nice enough as a woman. He was supposed to kill her. Ooh. We see what happened in Greece. So then we went on, and the patriarchal system continued. And it was not, the patriarchy was not invented by Abrahamics, but Abrahamics made it, the real thing, the big thing. So we have, still today, we have, here it is. It takes a little to open. Okay. We have the example of the women in the Abrahamic idea. It's against nature, against beauty, while Hinduism is summarized by the motto Satyam Shivam Sundaram. In the Abrahamic religions and ideologies, the ideal is we don't want to see your body, and especially if it's beautiful. So that's, that's, to sum it up, a very, very short summary. And in the other hand, we see in the ancient Vedic system, we had a different idea. And we can share this one, for example. Oops. I mean, okay, that's not exactly the burqa. There's some Hindus that have absorbed so much of the Islamic and Abrahamic idea that they think they have to cover up completely. In fact, we see, for example, in the areas where they had more Muslim influence and the problems due to Muslim influence, for example, in Rajasthan. Because in Rajasthan, they had much more Muslims than the usual share. So it was not nice. So women have to cover up completely. Not only that, but women have no rights, which is pretty different from what we have seen, for example, in the picture of Kali. Like, okay, and even not only ordinary women, but even the sacred feminine has to be the example of the suffering. Not only covered up completely, but the greatest example to be followed is like, okay. So that's not nice. This is why we need to divide between Abrahamic and non-Abrahamic, because changes a lot. Now I could share more photos, more images. Maybe we'll put them on a presentation that I will put on YouTube of this meeting. It's not exactly a lecture or a lesson, it's practically a meeting. Now we have at least a few minutes, so if anyone wants to ask questions, I think this is the time. A minute of silence. Okay. Annika, any ideas?
I think that you have a request. There is a hand.
Oh, a hand. Oh, Virabhadra. Oh, I didn't say it. Okay, but talk. Ask to unmute. Now you're mute. You raise the hand, but you also have to raise the voice. Or write in the chat. Because I don't see anything. Virabhadra. Wait. No, I don't.
Pranam, Jai Ma.
Jai Jagannath.
You mentioned about Tantra, okay, and it's divided into two parts. One is the Agamas.
No. Agamas and Tantra is the same.
Okay.
Now, there are major Agamas or Tantras, which is the same, divided in 5 parts, of which 3 are most popular.
All right, okay.
So, Vaishnava, Shaiva, and Shakta. And then we have the Saurya and the Ganapatya.
Okay.
Which means we have Tantras or Agamas for the worship of Vishnu, of Shiva, and of Shakti, Surya, and Ganesh.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought it was split in 2 parts. Tantra.
No, it's good. Please ask questions.
Okay.
Please ask. Okay.
Okay. That's useful.
Yeah. And in fact, in the Tantras, we have all the rules for the deity worship, temple worship. We have all the mantras, the bija mantras, mula mantras, the meditation, the yantra, because, Tantra, mantra, yantra are, one and the same, practically speaking. Tantra means power, control. And by applying the knowledge of Tantra, we practically call the consciousness of the deity inside our own self, which is a big concept, because in Abrahamic religions, there must be always a very deep divide. The devotee is always very strongly, very deeply divided from from God. God is all-powerful, and the human being is a sinner. In the Vedic, Hindu, Dharmic, Tantric idea, the human being is Atman, is God, is a part of God. Atman is Brahman. So when you actually focus the deity inside yourself, you're simply focusing a consciousness that already exists.
Oh, okay.
It's not that you call a deity to come inside your body. That's called possession. It's not Tantra. Possession can happen. Of course it can happen. But, Tantra is different because you actually focus the divine consciousness that is already inside you through particular modulation, particular techniques that are tantric techniques, mantra and yantra mostly. Okay, thank you, Devalaji. We'll talk some other time.
Yes, thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for coming. Okay, in fact, it's 1 hour. We did it, and my screen didn't go away.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can you please, if it doesn't take too long, explain better when you say that Brahma, okay, when, if I well understood,
Okay.
when Shakti meets Brahma, then we have Shiva.
Aha. Okay. Now,
I got a little bit
Brahman
confused
is
there.
Brahman is already Shiva and Shakti together. Shiva and Shakti together are called Vishnu. Vishnu is Shiva and Shakti together, is the one, non-manifested. Vishnu is non-manifested. We can only see Vishnu when he comes as avatar. Otherwise, Vishnu is adhokshaja, cannot be perceived by the senses or by the intellect. Vishnu is non-manifested, which, it's beyond the capacity of the material mind to understand. When Vishnu manifests, the one becomes two. It becomes Shiva and Shakti. Shiva and Shakti are the father and the mother of the living entities and of the material world. Another name of Shiva is Paramatma. Shiva is Paramatma, is the soul of the soul, which also applies to Vishnu, but there is no difference between Shiva and Vishnu in that sense. Because Shiva is a Vishnu that manifests. It's still Vishnu. It's a bit difficult because
Yes, I'm going to reflect on it.
yeah, we have to digest it. It's not a problem.
Right.
Yeah, I hope at least a little bit clearer.
We will, yes, absolutely. Yes.
We'll
I will arrive there.
Exactly, we get there. Yeah. Virabhadra, no other questions? Mute. Okay. So if there are no other questions, no. Okay, Virabhadra, no problem. No question. It should be NQ, not NP. Sorry, no. Okay, so I think we can close here. So my recording will continue, and I will not need to ask you to send it me. We
Okay.
close this meeting, but if you want, we can continue again. We can on WhatsApp or Signal or whatever, we can talk. Thank you for participating.
Thank you.
Oh, we did it. We made it.
We did it.
Oops, I didn't.